And so on Friday, I get home, and yes, I still subscribe to the newspaper. So I get this, and love letters to the editor. First one I see here is a letter to the editor, says time for change. I'm not gonna bore you with it. Y'all can go online and read it, but it's written by Samuel Adams. I'm a constitutionalist, okay? So he's either a dead president or he's a beer, all right? There are no Samuel Adams in Coos County, okay? How do we know that? Well, we're sort of kind of the government. We have voter records, you know, we have property records, we have utility records, you know, if you've ever called police, if you've ever called code enforcement, they're all in databases, you know, all right? However, I spoke to Mr. Sam Adams today. It's not Sam Adams by a long shot. His name is Perry Holman. And I asked Perry Holman, I said, Perry, you know, there's a policy, all right? And I'm going to read it to you. Because again, I'm a huge First Amendment person. Newspaper letters to the editor. They're limited to a maximum of 350 words. They'll be edited for grammar, spelling, and blatant inaccuracies. Although I think there was a letter 2 weeks ago that misspelled sergeant through the whole thing. So small things like that. It says unsubstantiated or irresponsible allegations or attacks on any individual will not be published. That's interesting. Letters containing details presented as facts rather than opinions must include their sources. Writers are limited to one published letter per month. Maybe that's why he used a fake name. Because I did search his name and he does write letters to the editors on a regular basis. All submissions must include the author's full name, local street address, and telephone number. Only the name and city of residence will be published. This particular letter is from Samuel Adams, North Bend. All right. The gentleman I talked to who claimed authorship of this letter doesn't live in North Bend, and he actually has his Coos Bay zip code. He lives south of Coos Bay, the city of Coos Bay. And by submitting a letter, writers also grant permission for them to be posted online, blah, 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 blah. All right. Mr. Holman says that he is a member of the Coos County Watchdog Group. If you follow, you probably know who's connected to that group. And I asked him lots of questions, had a good dialogue with him, over an hour conversation today. He said he didn't want anybody to know where he lived. I said, well, but you're okay with attacking this governing body. So I sent him, I told him I was going to follow up with him, and I did. I had a great conversation with him. I told him, if you ever want to know something, just call. We're an open book. But I said, you start off with, quote, the other day, a woman went to the North Bend City Council meeting to voice her concerns. She was so scared that she was almost unable to speak. You could tell it was not someone who speaks out against elected officials. Okay. I appreciate that. And I think the mayor even said, hey, you're among friends. I seem to recall that. And then he goes on to basically attack, and I say attack the council because the public doesn't realize no one member of the council wields all this power. But I'll tell you what the mayor of North Bend has power over. Okay. It says that she chooses to protect the worst of the worst in town. She's incapable of protecting its citizens from rape, assault, and harassment on a daily basis. She has no business in a leadership position. Anyone that chooses criminals over the law-abiding citizens does not belong in this town. You can read it for yourself. That's all fine and dandy. That's his opinion. He's entitled to it. But I find it interesting that you have to lie about who you are to publish a letter. You ought to put your name behind it. And so I had a good chat with him. I shared him our open letter to residents and said, this is everything that this council has done in the last 6 months alone to address. And this council and this staff is just as frustrated as you are. I sent them the catch and release order and change in the law July 1st. And then I also sent him a copy of the command review. And I said, now I challenge you to come out and maybe write about that. But of course, you're limited to one letter per month.
Next item of business on the agenda tonight is public comments, number 3. And I believe, Kaylee, our city recorder, so there's nobody online, correct? Okay. All right. Well, again, welcome to everybody who is here. I'd like to take a moment and say thank you for participating in public comment this evening. Public comment period is an essential part of local government meetings. Each person has 3 minutes to speak and will be timed by our city recorder. Our governing body takes input into consideration. However, in observance of Oregon open meeting laws, this isn't a time for dialogue, but rather a time for us to listen to you. Our city administrator and city recorder are taking notes of action if needed. And I've got several in front of me. I know we have our city attorney online. Mark Wolf, you're here with us, correct?
Yeah. Yes, hello, Mayor.
Yeah. I just want to refer to you. I do have one person signed up for public comment that's under a Samuel Adams that I don't believe is a resident or person of North Bend or a real person.
Okay.
I wanted to refer to you on that one before we get started.
Yeah, so I'm looking through your council rules here. On public comment, rule.2.04.070, subsection 3D. Each person desiring to give public comment shall provide the council with their name and address prior to giving comment. So that's interesting that you've got a Samuel Adams. I guess if they've given their name and address, they're within the rules.
Well, I don't have a physical address.
And is this a written public comment for you to?
No, it just, is there a Samuel Adams here in the, we have somebody who's identifying as Samuel Adams. It was just a piece of paper that was handed to me. And I just didn't know how to proceed if it's not a registered, if I know that our council rules state that they need to be a real person, not a fake name. But not identifying as they say they're a real person, but not identifying as their name. So I just wanted to make sure we knew how to proceed.
You know, I would suggest if this person wants to stand up and give their name and address, that they would be entitled to the 3 minutes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So we'll go ahead and then call Samuel Adams to the stand. And then you said just ask them to provide their real name and address.
That would be my recommendation.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So we'll go ahead and begin. There is a microphone right over here and a chair if you want to come forward. And our city recorder will go ahead and begin the timer when you start speaking. Yeah, that's great.
My name is Samuel Adams. Thank you for the recommendation, Counselor, but I'm not required by the rules to give you my address. But this guy over here, David Milliron, I think is a pretty good investigator, and he's going to in the future figure out my name and address and approach it at a further meeting. I'm not the same Samuel Adams that was in the World newspaper. That's actually what I'm here about, though. This guy over to my right, and for the people online, you can't see, it's the city manager, David Milliron, who lives at 2370 North 19th Street in Coos Bay, not North Bend. He found the need to spend his time and money that the taxpayers gave him to investigate a private newspaper's publication of an anonymous person addressing the city's problems. I'm obviously being very sarcastic and kind of being an ass, but it's concerning. Like, why would you spend your time doing that? What the fuck's wrong with you?
We're not going to allow that kind of language here in the chambers.
I'm sorry. But seriously, like, you've been given this opportunity to do good for the city, and you spent your time stalking and finding a public citizen, a citizen in the community, and like, you had to announce his name at yesterday's meeting. Why did you need to do that? You have other things you can do with your time. And I'm asking you guys to like address that, please. You don't have to do it now. Do it privately. It's inappropriate. More inappropriate than I'm being right now. So please spend your time wisely or get the fuck out of Oregon.
Okay,
Go
I'm not
back
going to allow
Georgia,
that kind of language in the council chambers.
where you were a cop
Thank
in
you.
Georgia.
And we also are going to continue tonight's public comment with professional decorum. We're not going to allow that kind of behavior. And we're also not going to allow attacking any of our employee staff. So thank you for speaking, and I appreciate that. And I really do want to hear from everybody. I just need to have professional decorum in the chamber at all times. Okay, so if people can abide by those rules, we'll go ahead and continue the next person, which is Ken. And I believe the last name is Folker. It's Ken. Hi, Ken. All right, welcome.
Good evening, everybody. I just wanted to give thanks to our fire department, our local doctors, our hospitals, all of you and your staff for the great job that you do for the city and the state. So that's all I have. Thank
All
you.
right, thank you. We appreciate you being here. Thank you. Okay, next up, I have Larry, and I apologize, but I cannot read the last name. Ramsdell. Hi, Larry. Welcome. We have, I don't know if maybe somebody in the front could move that chair out of the way. And then actually, and if you could move the mic just a little bit closer. I think it's already on. It helps us so that not only the people in the chambers, but the people online can hear as well in the mic.
My name is Larry A. Ramsdell, and I live on Hamilton here in North Bend. We've had a problem on North Bend. The homeless people with their campers, their dogs, their children, and their garbage. They're throwing their garbage all over the place over there where we're at. They have dogs that bark all night long. We've called in the police department, I don't know how many times. I did last night. I was up until 3:30, 3:45 this morning with, they were banging on stuff and hollering, yelling, and dogs barking, and it's just continuous. And I've tried to go and talk to them and ask them if they could please stop it. They told me where I could put it and how far. And then when I call the police department, they come out there and they quiet down for about 5 minutes until they're gone. And then they make a comment regarding how stupid the North Bend Police Department is, which I disagree 100%, because I know you guys are tied between laws and the way everything is wrote. And I just want to know, why can't we get the laws changed just a little bit to where this stuff can't happen? I mean, the sewage problem is really bad. I mean, that just, it's really bad. And when the wind changes and it goes into our apartments, I have other witnesses here that can verify the same thing, that this is a ongoing thing. It doesn't stop. And last year, I was in here forever trying to get some signs put up along that road. No camping, that's all, just no camping. I even agreed to them if they wanted to, I would help pay for the signs so they would get put up there so we won't have to put up with this. Because there's a lot of places they can camp and park without being right next to a bunch of apartments where old people live, and they can do their thing. That's the only thing I have to say.
Okay. Thank you. All right, the next person I have is Rob Taylor. Good evening and welcome.
Hi, how you doing?
Good.
Bill, good to see you again. Tim, how you doing? It's been a while. Very good. It's like seeing old friends every time I come here, except for the mayor. Never met you,
Nice to
Madam
meet you.
Mayor. The reason I'm here from Bandon, and you might wonder why I'm here, but I'm here because of the actions of the manager. And I had a friend send me a clip from yesterday's meeting at the work session where the manager did this incredible thing, something I haven't seen in a long while. He took the First Amendment and he used it as a shield, a sword, and a crutch all at the same time. And let me explain to you how he did this. And he did it for a specific reason. He used it as a sword because he exposed somebody who wanted to remain anonymous. And the person that he contacted, who was considered Samuel Adams, that's the synonym that he went under, he was kind of surprised, taken back that the manager actually hunted him down. And it's not something that's unusual for the manager, because before he came here, he actually impersonated or allegedly
So we're
impersonated
not
an
going to talk,
officer.
we're not going to
Well, I
disparage
have a right
any
to say
people.
what I can say, ma'am.
We
I
have
a
council
right to
rules, and I'm
review
not
them.
going to let you talk about employees. It is part of our council rules to not disparage employees.
Then how can
So-
you review them?
and-
You really then don't want to hear it.
So
Your
if you
employees are
want to
behaving
continue with the
badly.
public comment, I will let you, but if
Well,
you don't, then I'm
okay,
going to
so
ask you to
let's
leave the
say-
room.
It's just not proper
So
that
if
that
you want-
happens. I
please
have a right to
please
freedom of
continue with
speech,
your public
and
comment.
your leadership here has exposed someone by doxing them using the First Amendment. They used the First Amendment by hunting this person down using legal means and then bragged about that legal means. And then this person used it as a shield because he said that he used public information to get that information. But yet, to me, it's just a waste of time when he could be dealing with this gentleman's problem with the homelessness. And then he used it as a crutch, because he used it at all, but because he was using it as a way to go after someone and defend himself. The sword, the shield, the crutch. And it's improper. I know this. I'm in media and I've had people come on anonymously, and I'm very disappointed in the World newspaper if they gave him this person's information, but people have a right to criticize you. I know you don't get paid. I know this isn't a glorious job, but guess what? That's tough. You signed the paperwork. You filled out that SEL form. You ran for office. You won the election. And guess what? Now you got to do the job. And if you're not doing the job properly, stop going after your public citizens who criticize you for not doing the damn job. I had to sit there and listen to Benetti say the same thing, talk about and whine about he doesn't get paid and he's doing everything he can. Well, guess what? Maybe that's not enough. Maybe it's time for you to leave and see new fresh faces here. I don't know, but it's something that you should consider. And this man right here should resign.
We're not going to have that.
He
So
should
I'm going to,
resign.
time's up. Thank
Hey,
you.
Gary, how you doing?
Okay. All right. Thank you for participating in public comment. We're going to go ahead and move on to Matt Wilbanks. Hi, Matt. Welcome.
Evening, Mayor, City Council. Matt Wilbanks. I'm currently homeless, but I'm a longtime resident of both Coos Bay and North Bend. So the first thing I wanted to say tonight was actually to give you guys some kudos. If anybody knows who I am, I kind of tear you guys up and down sometimes. So I have to give credit where credit is due. I didn't know about the ordinance that you guys had changed recently on, I think, the tow and parking policy and stuff like that. I recently read that. I posted it. That's a definite step in the right direction. So I appreciate you guys doing that. Okay. It's been a long time coming. Coos Bay, passed their camping ordinance, I think, last year. I would still really like to see an actual camping ordinance. Maybe it's something you guys are going to consider. So definitely kudos there. The second thing I need to talk about is basically to reiterate everything that Rob and the gentleman who referred to himself as Samuel Adams said about Mr. Milliron over here. I also run a website, dailyresistor.com. I've written several articles on the past. We won't bring it up because you've already mentioned that. Okay. My personal opinion is he's corrupt.
We're not going to call our staff corrupt here.
That's fine. That's my
Okay.
personal opinion. As Rob said, his behavior yesterday was absolutely unacceptable. I want to read a couple things for you. The first one is from the ACLU. All I did here was search for right to anonymity on Google. Very simple. ACLU article says the right to remain anonymous is a fundamental component of our right to free speech and it applies every bit as much in the digital world as it does in the physical one. In the words of the U.S. Supreme Court in McIntyre v. Ohio Elections Commission, quote, "Anonymity is a shield from the tyranny of the majority." Additionally, the Electronic Frontier Foundation, who's been fighting for online freedom of speech for decades, in an article said, quote, "In times of turmoil, authorities might scapegoat anonymous speakers, blaming them for societal challenges. But anonymous speech is often how the public finds out the depth and severity of those challenges, be it an abuse of political power or the severity of a global pandemic. Without anonymous speech, some lies powerful people tell would go unchecked." And then lastly, I've got to address the comments about Samuel cursing. Okay. I'm not going to do it, but cursing is constitutionally protected speech in any governmental agency toward police. The Supreme Court has ruled on it multiple times. As long as it's not quote unquote fighting words, as long as you're not trying to start a fight or egg someone into a fight, it is constitutionally protected speech. You can ask your lawyer, he will tell you. You can ask Chief McCullough, he will tell you. If I'm in front of Chief McCullough on the street or one of his officers and I'm unhappy with their performance, I can yell every curse word I want in their face as long as I'm not violent toward them. Okay. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Kaylee, I think that was the last public comment.